Welcome back, everybody. This is Poison People MTG with your host, Elena. And today we're going to talk about my Boob Probe deck. Now, this didn't used to be an Infect deck, but I found a way to turn it into Infect. Double birds. 2/1/1 flyers. Swag. Now, I've showed you guys this deck box in previous videos, but I did not show you the deck. And that's because it was not ready to be shown. So let me pick out the just basic islands that I got in here, and I will show you the idea behind the deck. So it started out just a psychogenic probe deck, and that meant I was just going to make a bunch of copies of psychogenic probe, which is pay 2. It's an artifact. Whenever a spell or ability causes a player to shuffle his or her library, Psychogenic Probe deals 2 damage to him or her. And just basically find ways to make my opponent shuffle. Now, I found that there's not very many ways to do that. So I had to resort to other methods. Alright, so here's another card you should really know. It is called Isochron Scepter. Alright. So it's a 2 casting cost artifact with imprint. It says, when Isochron Scepter enters the battlefield, you may exile an instant card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand. And then you can pay 2, tap it, and it says you may copy the exiled card. If you do, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So what I do is I want to be able to put a dramatic reversal on it. It says untap all non-land permanents you control, and it's a 2 casting cost instant. Alright, so exile this onto this, and then I can tap, pay 2 to untap all non-land permanents I control, which would untap the Isochron Scepter. And if I'm lucky, I will have Urza Lord High Artificer, which is a freaking cool name, out. And it lets me, it's the second, little paragraph down. It says, tap an untapped artifact you control to add a blue mana. So I need to have at least 2 other artifacts out with the Isochron Scepter, with the imprint on it. And something else that produces mana. And what I use to produce mana in this deck is Renowned Weaponsmith. So he's also a 2-drop. He taps for 2 colorless mana, and you can spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. I've not been able to do it yet, but if I have him out, and I got the Isochron Scepter with the imprinted card on it, so I can make infinite mana, so I can pay 2, tap this, untap all non-land permanents I control. Let's say I have a Foundry Inspector out, and just keep making an extra mana, which would, leave me infinite mana to keep activating Decimator Web's ability. So all I gotta do is pay 4, tap it, and target opponent loses 2 life, gets a poison counter, then puts the top 6 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So technically, I can kill people with loss of life, poison, and by milling them. So like I said, I haven't been able to do it yet. But that's the idea behind the deck. So just any random other artifact, Isochron Scepter with a dramatic reversal on it, Mana Dork like Renowned Weaponsmith, and the Decimator Web. So just keep tapping, untapping, tapping, untapping, tapping, untapping. And what I used to do was I would use Portent, and I would have a bunch of psychogenic probes out, And what I would also have liked to have done with this deck before I turned it into an infect deck was to choose this second ability on this instant that costs 6, which is a whopper. It says choose target artifact you control. Each other artifact you control becomes a copy of that artifact to end a turn. So all I would have to do is like turn all my artifacts, which there are many in this deck, into psychogenetic probes, and then make my opponent shuffle. You know, effectively, you know, maybe making them lose 10, 20 life. Who knows? And the second reason this is called the probe boob deck is because I've got booby traps in them. So booby trap is a 6-drop, which, you know, will be much cheaper, with making the artifacts cost cheaper with like cheap of the foundry, man. That's what I'm gonna call it from now on. See, he makes your artifacts cheaper, so he's cheap. Oh, he's foundry inspector. I thought he was chief inspector or something like that. That doesn't work. Never mind. But that would have been cool if he was cheap inspector. All right. So what I can also do, is with Lantern of Insight, each player has to play with the top card of his or her library revealed. And then what Boob Probe over here says, Booby Trap, I mean, it says, as Booby Trap comes into play, name a card other than a basic land card and choose an opponent. And I'm going to know what's on top of their library already because of the Lantern of Insight. It says the chosen player reveals each card he or she draws. Then, when the chosen player draws the named card, I sacrifice Booby Trap. And if I do, Booby Trap deals 10 damage to that player. So whoever I pick is going to lose 10 life. And to add insult to injury, I have Strionic Resonator in here. It says I can pay 2, copy target triggered ability I control, and I'm going to choose new targets for the copy. So this is a triggered ability because it has the word when in it. So I could copy the booby traps. It's fun to say that word. The booby traps triggered ability with the Strionic Resonator. You know, effectively making them lose 20 life. So that was I have got to do that once, and boy was it fun. It was super fun. I got the Liquid Metal Torque in there just for extra mana and to make another non-land permanent an artifact, you know, just so I can make that masterful replication hurt that much more. So like I can turn, I don't know, like one of my renowned weaponsmiths into an artifact, and then the masterful replication would turn it into a psychogenic probe. See, that was what I was going for in the past, but the poison aspect has made this much more fun. We also got the Steel Hellkite in there, just for some removal, and this deck is not very successful, because as soon as anybody hears a Steel Hellkite, they want to kill you. But maybe I should take them out of here. But I attempted to try and have something, you know, some flying blockers to prevent people from just killing me real quick with flyers. And I tried to at least protect this guy if I can't protect this guy. Because it says the Shimmer Dragon says, as long as I control 4 more artifacts, which I almost always will, Shimmer Dragon has hexproof. And I can tap 2 untapped artifacts I control to draw a card. So this guy fits right in here. But I mean, if they draw too much aggro, they might have to come out one of these days. And I got the Reverse Engineer in there. This is a promo copy, but these guys are normally uncommons. They got Improvise, which means I can tap an artifact to pay for one of the colorless mana in this casting cost. And it lets me draw 3 cards. So it kind of like lets me, you know, fill my hand up pretty much for free with Urza and my artifacts. I've got Muddle the Mixture in there, just so I can go look for a Psychogenic Probe. That was the old idea, but it also lets me counter an instant or sorcery spell, just in case. So it's always good to have a lot of options. Oh, if I need to, I can also go look for the Ice Crown Scepter with this. Because Transmute says, pay 3, discard this card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost, which is 2, as this card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. But you can only play this as a sorcery. So it gives people a lot of time to respond to what you're doing. So, I don't know if that's the best idea, but it was mine. Some other just fun things I got in there is a card called Day's Undoing. So it's a 3 casting cost sorcery. It says each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into his or her library, then draw 7 cards if it's my turn and the turn. So I was just looking for any old way to get people to shuffle, even if it meant hurting myself too. And yep, that's the basis of the deck. I will definitely give you guys an update if I ever get to Decimator Web an opponent. I'm still waiting for that day, and that's the fun part about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later.